Hello you lovely lot, my name is Max and welcome back to my YouTube channel on what is a lovely sunny day here in Manchester. Yes, we are back with another match preview, one of the final ones of the season, potentially the final one depending on how this game goes. Of course, we're going to be talking about our second leg in the EFL Championship playoffs against Sheffield United. We will also be doing an in-depth analysis of the first leg, where we'll be talking through the biggest match events, the goals, all the good stuff about that game at Bramall Lane against the Blades. This video will follow a little bit of a different format to how our videos normally go, obviously with it being the second leg of our semi-final. We'll start things off doing an in-depth analysis, an overview of the game. We will then do a second part which will be more in-depth, talking about the tactics and the goals and all that specific stuff, and then we'll go into our predictions for our home leg of those playoff semi-finals. Hopefully you can follow along at home, hopefully it makes sense. There will also be some graphics on screen, so hopefully it all makes sense. So we're going to kick things off in this video talking about the first leg of our semi-final against Sheffield United, talking in a bit of an overview sense of how the game went. So before we do that, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new around these parts. As you will be aware, we do these every single time Nottingham Forest are playing in the league. They do really well, and if you want to join what is a really burgeoning community of people on this channel where we do a lot of discussions about our upcoming matches, then I would highly suggest dropping a like, subscribing down below, and let's get into our analysis for the second leg. And that first leg went really well. A really solid 2-1 win away from home at Bramall Lane. Only the second time Paul Heckingbottom has lost at home as Sheffield United manager, and the first time he has conceded 2 goals at home as coach. And in fact, in general, only the third time this season Sheffield United have conceded more than 1 goal at home in the league. The other 2 times, the first time was really early in the season, the most recent was against Millwall the way back in October, so it hasn't happened this year, which I think makes our win even more impressive. And when you look under the hood at the stats, the performance was, in my opinion, even better than it looks on the surface. We mentioned in the last video how good they've been defensively this season. I believe they were either top 4 or top 5 for both goals conceded and shots against per match. They were sitting around 9. They conceded 17 in this game, including 14 shots from inside the box, compared to the 15 that they managed to generate, and around 10 of those coming from inside the box. And I think that was really impressive side of our performance, our ability to generate not just chances against one of the best defensive sides in the championship this season, but really high quality opportunities that quite often, more so than not, tested the goalkeeper. There was 8 shots on target compared to just 2 from Sheffield United, which is very impressive if you ask me. And especially on the eye test as well, we really should have run away with it in the first leg and made it even more comfortable for us at the City ground. Fotheringham, to be fair to him, made some really good saves, including a good double save in the first half, and really we did squander quite a few late chances as both sides got a bit leggy towards sort of the last 15-20 minutes of the game. Both teams, to be fair, ran their socks off on the day, and yeah, it definitely found ourselves catching them upfield quite often and just not really putting them away, and I really hope we don't regret that. So a little bit more on the goals. Our opening goal came pretty early in the first half. I think it was around the 10-minute mark. Joe Worrell do some good work out on the right hand side. He managed to beat John Fleck before playing a really nice ball into the channel for Sam Surridge to run onto. He cuts it back from the byline. Philip Zinckernagel sees his initial shot saved by Fotheringham, but it bounces straight into super Jackie Colback's feet. Who would have thought the man who was much maligned for so much of his Forest career, he's barely had a sniff in the last couple of seasons especially, and who would have thought how clutch some of his goals would have been this season. The opener in the playoff semi-final, the absolute bag wonder goal against West Brom a few weeks back. Who would have thought how clutch a player he would turn into be for us? And our second came after a really good substitution from Steve Cooper. Joe Lolly replacing Philip Zinckernagel in that very hard-working number 10 position for the Reds. And he definitely didn't disappoint. Joe Lolly picking the ball up from John Egan from the back line. Have some really good pressing from the Reds as well, to be fair. Closed down the avenue of attack for him, picking it off of the Irish defender before running forward, squaring it and being finished off really well into the top corner by Brennan Johnson, getting, I think it's like 19 goals this season. He's been insane. He's just such a good player, Brennan Johnson. You just have to feel like, if we don't get promoted to the Premier League, what level could this guy play at next season? For me, I mean, I feel like he could comfortably get into like that West Ham team at the moment, maybe Leicester, like a sort of Europa League level team. I genuinely think he's that good that he can get into their teams, and he works really, really hard as well. So you feel like under someone like David Moyes, he'd really flourish. Unfortunately for all the missed chances that we had in that game, Sheffield United did manage to get back into things pretty late on. It was an injury time. A really good corner from Morgan Gibbs-White met by Sander Berge in the box to be finished into the bottom corner. And I've got to say credit where credit's due. From set pieces in this game, Sheffield United were actually really, really good, considering how good our record is from set pieces as well. They did a really good job of sort of blocking off the runs from Bryce Samba and marking him pretty tightly. I think that's in the knowledge that Bryce Samba, as a goalkeeper, is very adventurous. He likes to come and punch from crosses. He likes to try and come and claim corners as well as and when he can. And I think they recognise that, did a really good job, their set piece coach. And they did a really good job of marking him basically and preventing him from coming and getting what was quite an like sort of incoming corner. He was probably would have been able to catch it in other situations, but yeah, credit where credit's due. Really good piece of play there from Sheffield United. Sorry, that was a really long-winded explanation. That hopefully that makes sense. It's going to be a bit rambly this video, unlike normal ones. It's been a little less of a format than we normally do things around here. According to who scored the man of the match on the day was Sam Surridge, and whilst I do like to give credit where it's due, I do think Brennan Johnson was slightly, marginally the better player on the day. Such is the influence he's had on this team this season. Probably been our best player, certainly for the last couple of months. He's been so clutch at so many big moments, and this game was no exception. The Welshman took the most shots in the game, taking 6 over the course of the 90 minutes. He created a chance for his teammates as well and completed the most dribbles in the Forest squad with 2. All in all, a really commanding performance up and down that right-hand side, and that partnership with Jed Spence he's really formed, drifting out into that right half space, is just maybe second to none in the championship in terms of fullback winger combinations. Now we've done a bit more of an overview of the game, I want to spend some time talking in depth about some of the situations in the game and just generally the balance of the play, how it went, the tactics, all that kind of stuff, and how it sort of transpired on the pitch on the day. So we're going to spend some time talking about that, and really over the course of the 90 minutes you could see the clear game plan from Forest. Defend deep, win the ball in the final third, and transition it as fast as you can into that final third. In fact, we didn't take a lot of passes in our own defensive third, which I think is indicative of a team who, whilst winning possession in that area, were very quick to spring forward on the counter-attack and get it high and wide into the channels. For me, over the course of the 90 minutes and generally over the course of this season, the dominance we've had down that right-hand side has been probably second to none, I would say, in the championship. I'm going to put up on screen now the tackle map for Nottingham Forest over the course of the 90 minutes. As you can see, on the right-hand side of our pitch was predominantly where we were winning possession through tackles, and what that did was just completely shut down that avenue of attack for Sheffield United, forcing them to go down their right, our left, for the majority of their attacks. Our transition game also really benefited from this style of defending deep, transitioning high and wide into the channels. It offered us a lot of space to run into and a lot of opportunities to get into the box. We actually took more touches in the opposition box, around 35 over the course of the 90 minutes compared to 25, and completed more passes in the box compared to Sheffield United, around 12 to 11. Although very similar, you would suggest, from the possession that they had and the amount of touches that they had, they would potentially have completed a few more, but we were actually very good at getting the ball direct into the box from a transitioning period. More in terms of the eye test as well, we did a really good job of stretching their back line, although nominally it looks like a 2-1 up front with Zinchenko playing in the pocket in that number 10 space, and Johnson and either Surridge or Davis or Graben playing as the front two in that team. It very much is like a fluid front three. Zinchenko can drift out into that left hand side. Johnson can get really high, wide and aggressive into that right half space and even into the right wide space. And Surridge, although not the best with the ball at feet, is really good at getting into them channels and causing problems, and he did that all day, especially for the opening goal. One thing that I picked up on, and thankfully quite a lot of people have also picked up on Twitter, is just how marked the improvement in terms of our attack has been this season. Defensively last season, we were actually really good. We conceded 45 goals. We were in the top 5 of teams with goals conceded in the championship, despite finishing 17th. It was going forward that was always really the problem, and that, I guess, was always Chris Hughton's problem as a manager, is he just basically instructed our players to just whip it into the box as often as possible with no real regard for what they were actually trying to construct with their attacks, just hoping Lewis Graben could knock it down. This season there's been a lot more purpose in our attacking, I suppose the best way to play it. We've been using the idea of cutbacks a lot more, working the ball down to the byline, cutting it back. Brennan Johnson is one of the best players in the league at getting to the byline, in my opinion, and Sam Surridge as a striker is a really good runner. He's a really hard-working player, but he also gets into them channels really well. And again, like I said, for the opening goal, got himself into the channel, down to the byline. And if he hadn't done that, there was no way we would have created as many chances as we did. I just want to note as well the sort of key areas of battle over the course of the 90 minutes for both sides. Firstly, I'm going to show you Sheffield United's touch map over the course of the 90 minutes, and I'm going to draw a box around sort of the general area in which they were taking touches, which was predominantly in the half space and also in the centre of the pitch. That was how they were trying to build up their attacks, and it was noticeable the lack of width that they had in their team, very much relying on their wing backs and centre backs to offer any real kind of width in attack, with Gibbs White and Illiman and DA trying to really sort of stretch the team as much as they could, but it's not really their style of play, I guess. If you compare this to our touch map, we were constantly stretching the opposition, particularly down that right hand side. It actually almost left a little bit of a pocket of space in that sort of number 10 position, because as well as Philip Zinckernagle's sort of free role in that team offers him the opportunity to sort of create these overloads in the wide area. And again, you'll see from that touch map that we take, again, really stretching the team as wide as possible, using the half space well, using the wide space well, and that's just really indicative of how we've played under Steve Cooper this season. So yeah, let's wrap things up for today's video by giving some predictions and just a couple of personal suggestions of how the game will go tomorrow, what I would do personally if I was the coach. Again, not really much of an authority on things like this, but it's interesting to see what conclusions you can kind of draw from obviously what I've presented in this video so far. Firstly, and I think this goes without saying, we nailed the game plan over the course of the 90 minutes on Saturday, completely shut them out for the most part. The chances they did get were from individual brilliance or from maybe a sloppy mistake here or there. They found it really hard to sort of break through us, is the point I'm trying to make, defending well in them deep positions and transitioning high and wide on the attack. And I would suggest this sort of deep defensive shape that we had should continue into the second leg, especially with Sheffield United missing their strikers all through injury. The biggest aerial threat they had over the course of the game was Sander Berge, who is nominally a box-to-box midfielder. That's certainly what he was. I think it was at Genk before he came to Sheffield United, and the Premier League in Sheffield United as well. That was how he was playing as well. Playing in a bit more of an advanced position this season, I think more so out of necessity than anything. And he's definitely their biggest aerial threat. So as long as we can keep him marked, get Ryan Yates on him, aerially, I don't think they're going to cause us too many problems. My one criticism was of Joe Worrell over the course of the game, and maybe this is just me. I've always been really critical of his ball playing ability. Whilst he's pretty good getting out from the back, progressing the ball, he's a pretty good passer. Obviously, we saw that for the opening goal, getting that ball into the channel for Sam Surridge. He is slightly over-ambitious sometimes. He likes to hit sort of a ballsy cross-field ball when it isn't really that necessary, and his lack of pace and lack of mobility, particularly playing as a wide centre-back, has been exploited over the course of this season and was exploited at times against Sheffield United. And if they put a man on us over the course of that 90 minutes, put a man on Worrell, I should say, and just sort of don't give him too much time on the ball, that could really restrict not just our ability to build out from the back, but our ability to defend them as well. Again, the lack of pace in the wide areas with our centre-backs can be an issue, and if Joe Worrell, much like how Harry Maguire can get done sometimes for his lack of pace when he's trying to build out from the back, if that happens to Joe Worrell, could be in trouble over the course of the game. Brennan and Ched Spence had Stevens and Robinson on toast for the entirety of that game. They really struggled to get anywhere near them, and the width that they possess on that right hand side, that they offer us at least on that right hand side, has caused them so many problems over the course of that game. And with either Zinckernagel or Surridge sort of shuttling over there sometimes as well to create them overloads, they were really the danger areas, and I would highly suggest that we try and continue to shuttle the ball out there as and when we get the chance to transition, because again, Robinson and Stevens, sometimes caught in two minds really. We're trying to attack, but also are aware that the counter-attacking threat from someone like Johnson or Spence that they offer was just so much of a threat that they were kind of caught in no man's land at times. As to, I suppose, the biggest question on Forest fans' lips, do we start Surridge again, or do we give Keenan the chance in the second leg? Personally, I would play things safe and start with Surridge. I think he did a really good job. If he played worse, then yeah, maybe you got the opportunity to get Keenan back in there. But the form he's been in since coming into the squad, since the injuries we've had to our forwards, I don't really see the necessity in replacing him in that front line. The running he was doing over the course of the game and the time and space he's going to get probably on the transition to make them runs, you do have to feel like he's maybe best suited to that kind of situation. Bring Keenan on maybe with 15-20 minutes of the game left when the game's getting a bit leggy and we're maybe just trying to knock it long for someone to hold on to. That's really where Keenan is at his best, those little layoffs, those cute little touches. I think that's when you want to bring him on, and you don't really want to aggravate that injury as well. Sam has done a really good job since coming into the squad, and I think that it's not really necessary to risk Keenan aggravating that injury even worse, just for the chance of changing the style up a little bit. I guess the classic one, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and it certainly ain't broke the system we're playing. Overall, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw at the City Ground. I know I said we were going to draw the last game, we ended up winning that game, so maybe I'm being a bit cautious, a bit conservative in that way, but I do believe that Sheffield United personally will be much better in the second leg. I think they'll have a better idea for our style of play, and we'll probably do better at marking our counter-attacking situations. Our record at the City Ground, of course, this season has been fantastic, even more so this year. In 2022, we dropped points in just one game, which was a draw against Stoke City about 2 or 3 months ago, and of course we are unbeaten at home as well since December over the course of 2022. So with that being said, I do think Sheffield United will find it very hard not just to carve an opening against probably the best defensive team in the league this season, but also at a fortress of a stadium where we hardly concede, and certainly even more rare for us to lose a game there. Of course though, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like I said, I think a 1-1 draw would be a very solid progression for us through to the playoff final, finishing things. I think that'll be 3-2 on aggregate. Also, let me know who you think the man of the match on the day is going to be, and whilst you're down there, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel whilst you're down there if you are new around here. It is very warm at the moment here in Manchester, and apologies if that has made this video a little bit sluggish, a little bit all over the place. I've had to sort of write and get this out very quickly over the course of Monday, so I appreciate that it may not be up to the same quality as usual, but hopefully you have enjoyed it. And I hope you also enjoy the game tomorrow, Reds, and hopefully I will be seeing you in a couple of weeks for our trip to Wembley. Fingers crossed. Enjoy the game, Reds. I will catch you later.